Alright, bruh. We are back. Now, I know I was gone. Playing video. Well, wasn't gone that long, only 2 weeks, bro. Not even damn near, not even 12, 13 days. We were playing video games, but now we're back with reactions. Now, um, I do want to react to the NBA, bro, but I'm having issues with the copyright getting the All-Star game up. So we're gonna have to wait till Thursday regular season comes back up. Now, besides that, shout out Panda Dares. He followed his video up, Walking Dead Telltale More Unsolved Mysteries. Again, we've covered every video, or you know what I'm saying, I've watched every video he made because I played the damn game myself. And shit, maybe, because in my last vid too, I was like, a mystery, you know what I'm saying, like a suggested mystery, was that, like, whatever happened to, fuck, I forget her name, the girl from season 2, Carlos's daughter. I forgot her name right now, but I asked Panda Dares, I was like, whatever happened to her mom. So maybe my mystery will be in this video, maybe it won't be. But yeah, shout out Panda Dares, bro. Check it out. He has more too. You know what I'm saying? He has more Walking Dead. Last of Us 2, if you're into that. I'm not really into Last of Us, I know people that are, I'm just not, you know what I'm saying? But check it out, man. Just check it out. Without further ado, we got The Walking Dead, Telltale, More Unsolved Mysteries. Let's go.
Previously on The Walking Dead.
We completed the mainline titles, concluding the first chapter of the series. After uploading the 400 days video, my first thought was to actually play through the series again and see if I could compile a universal list discussing everything I've overlooked along the way. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to play much. Season 1 alone has so much mysteries in it that I just had to make another one. So here we are again, restarting everything from scratch. From more missing characters to the unanswered questions regarding Macon's dying population, here are more Telltale's The Walking Dead Unsolved Mysteries.
Let's go! Hey!
Furniture overturned, blood everywhere. Jesus.
I'm going to start off this list with something crazy I didn't know about until recently. Did you know that a man showed up at Clementine's house before Lee did? It's a very specific dialogue option, but in the RV in episode 3.
Really? No? Damn, and that's what I'm saying, like, you can play, and maybe this scene, like, maybe I didn't make the choice there, but as a kid, because I played this when I was, like, 12, 13, bro, so maybe, like, I did get this outcome, and it did go over my head, but I specifically don't remember that. We don't remember that. As far as we know, Clementine was at the house with the babysitter, you know what I'm saying? I did not know a man showed up at all.
Clementine can say this.
Before you, there was this other guy. He was yelling and trying to get into my house. He wanted to take the TV and tried to break the glass door with a rock. Then some walkers came and scared him away.
The door was open.
He was dumb.
Dumbass.
I have a vague idea on who this guy is, but it's just a theory of mine. Back in episode 1, after Lee climbs the fence into Clementine's backyard, gunshots can be heard off in the distance which lures the walkers away. Clementine did say that he tried to use a rock to break into her house, meaning he didn't have a gun, but it's also possible that he was able to break into the next door neighbour's house and steal their gun instead, which would explain why he was in a rush in the first place. It also couldn't have been Sean, Chet or Andre, as we can inspect the neighbourhood from inside the house, and at this point, it's deserted. The other likely theory is that he left long before the events of episode 1 occurred, but whether or not he's still alive is a small mystery in of itself. I'm just glad Lee found Clementine before anyone else showed up. Sandra, the babysitter, is next. All we know about her is that Clementine heard her scream on the first night the outbreak occurred, judging by the bite marks on her arms and...
I always wondered why. Something like, and this just popped off my head, like, just like, as I got older, I always wondered why. Why didn't Sandra just hop in the treehouse with Clementine? Why weren't they, like, I don't know, why weren't they moving like Lee and Clementine did? You know what I'm saying? Why weren't they operating as a duo? Like we saw with Lee and Clementine. And maybe Panda Dares will go into that, but that's just one thing I always wondered. I was like, how did the babysitter die? Why didn't she go up in the tree with Clementine? You know what I'm saying? I don't get that, because she looked like she was perfectly able. The babysitter didn't look that damn old, bro. You know what I'm saying? Babysitter had to be a teenager herself or early 20s. So I never understood why she didn't just go up the treehouse with Clementine. I never understood that myself.
The blood in the kitchen, the place and cause of death are obvious. I still find it odd how she let a walker sneak up on her in a deserted neighborhood from inside the safety of a locked house of all places.
So that's about, like, you were in a safe house. How'd that happen? You know what I'm saying? Unless, you know what I'm saying, were you coming down from the tree to get something from the house? Is there more to the story we don't know about? Because that's another good point. How did you get snuck up on in the beginning of it's the beginning of the invasion, you know what I'm saying? So how did you get snuck up on in a secured house? By who? How did you not know the walker was in? That's a good point. I never thought about that, but that's a good point.
It wasn't like what happened to Clementine's parents. The entire city of Savannah turned and her mother was swarmed on all sides.
So they had nowhere to run. That makes more sense.
Millions of walkers through that last phone call. On the morning she died, or maybe this was the day before, there's a bonus scene from the Season 2 finale trailer. Sandra and Clementine film a raccoon inside the treehouse.
I think it's... Yep, got it.
That's sick.
Look at that.
I've never seen this before. I didn't know... Where'd you get the Season 2 finale trailer? Why did they put it in the Season 2 finale? I don't know why they... That's I don't know, I guess. I'll say it's a bonus scene, so...
It's a wholesome moment.
I'm just wondering why they put it in there.
The only explanation I have is that the raccoon's infiltration method somehow attracted a few walkers' attention who followed it and caught Sandra off guard. They bit her and she ran back inside, closed the door and subsequently died in the kitchen. Left.
I don't know. I still don't... But then how... Like, how did she get snuck up on, bro? Those things make noise, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just you and Clementine. Did Clementine not scream? Did Clementine, like, what was Clementine doing when the zombies were walking towards you, sneaking up on you, bro? I don't know. I don't know. That doesn't make sense. And then the fact that she didn't, like, your first instinct wasn't to run up to safety to the treehouse. Granted, yes, the raccoons are in there, but shit, actually, no. I'm not going to diverge. I was going to say that raccoons could bite you and give you rabies, but ideally they'd be vaccinated even before the apocalypse, you know what I'm saying? Because they were modern day. They should still be vaccinated against the rabies, you know what I'm saying? If the raccoon were to bite them, blah, blah, blah. You know, just if you want to go down that route. But I still don't get why both of them, if she gets snuck on, and I'm not like dogging Panda Dares, I'm just like more dogging like the creative gamers, you know what I'm saying? Panda Dares brought this to light, so now I'm just thinking on top of it. Why... It just doesn't make sense why, if you see walkers, you know what I'm saying, Clementine doesn't scream, you guys don't run up to the treehouse. Instead, Clementine, what? Just watches the walker walk towards you, lets it bite you, you know what I'm saying? And then like, I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make sense when you really, really think about it, and you just think about the treehouse and how available it was, at least to Clementine, the babysitter, to me.
To wander the house until she ironically did the same thing to Lee a few days later.
Shit, hey, Panda Dares, this could be a new video, bro. New theory. Did Clementine let the babysitter die intentionally? You know what I'm saying, shit? Did Clementine sacrifice the babysitter, bro? Maybe I'm talking about her ass, but when you really think about it, bro, I just don't see how she gets snuck up on with Clementine, you know what I'm saying, with Clementine there. I don't see it. And then if both their backs are turned, then how did Clementine not get grabbed up? You know what I'm saying? It does, I don't know. Again, I'm not dogging on Panda Dares, shout out Panda Dares. I'm just more like thinking about it and just throwing my own loop in there.
Later. We know that walkers hunt and eat animals in addition to people. Take Shell's campaign from 400 Days, for example. So the raccoon could have cost Sandra her life in the end by bringing unwanted attention to the house. That, or she left the house attempting to find help. Another cool detail is that Clementine's parents told Sandra to escape to a town called Marietta, basically suburban Atlanta where the intro takes place and where Sandra lives.
They did.
She died before she knew about the voice messages from Clementine's parents. As most of us know, the original script for Season 4 involved Clementine going back to her hometown here in Atlanta, reconnecting with her past and finding her old home. This was scrapped, but the assets were later repurposed into what is now...
Hold on. I want to go back here, bro, because he just said...
...and where Sandra lives. She died before she knew about the voice messages from Clementine.
So how early did Sandra die, bro? Because she died before they sent the messages, but she died before she could even answer that. But you gotta imagine, that's the very, very beginning, bro. So how early did, like, the babysitter die? And again, how? Like, it just, when you really think about it, it doesn't make sense. And how early? Like, it just all doesn't make sense, bro, how she went out.
Clementine's parents. As most of us know, the original script for Season 4 involved Clementine going back to her hometown here in Atlanta, reconnecting with her past and finding her old home. This was scrapped, but the assets were later repurposed into what is now the definitive...
so that's why it shows like an older version of shit. Okay, I thought they were just being creative. Okay, they scrapped the idea, but they still like showed it at the main screen. I like that.
It looks amazing. I'm glad we can still visualize what this story could have looked like, even if it was abandoned in the end. I always imagined what other safe zones of past seasons would look like today. Did another group of survivors settle down at the motor inn after we escaped in the RV? Is the St. John's farm still standing?
Hell no.
The ski lodge from Season 2? things like this.
That
Tell
could
me
be.
if that's a video
The
you'd be
ski
interested.
lodge was low-key a golden spot, and I think we could have held up there and survived there for a minute if Carver didn't take us out. But honestly, that if of all places, the ski lodge, because it's up, you know what I'm saying? It's up in the mountains. Not many walkers out there. It's cold, you know what I'm saying? So the walkers freeze too. On top of that, but I say if all the places he just named off, this has the best.
In.
Yeah.
Look, Macon and its people aren't savable. It's not a town. It's full of walkers, and the people who were left are dying and wandering out onto the streets. It's hell on earth, and it's coming this way.
The surviving yet slowly dying community of Macon makes small appearances throughout the initial 3 episodes. The most notorious of this group, a frantic young woman named Beatrice, who storms out into the streets and dies from either multiple bite wounds or Lee putting her out of her misery. It's unknown how she and others like her survived months into the outbreak. It's purely speculative, and it's still unclear if she was part of a larger group. Personally, I think she held out by herself in her apartment. Until 3 months in, malnutrition took over and she was forced to wander out into the streets in search for food. It's upsetting to think that many people...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta think, bro. I mean, I was wondering about that too, because like, if she went out like that, I was like, there's no way she survived alone by herself. But that makes sense too, because I was always wondering about that woman. I was like, dude, she just wandered out by herself. Like, no, there was no one there to help her. She had no group. I don't know. You guys didn't really try to talk to her. You didn't try to calm her down or anything. I don't know. I always kind of wonder about that. I was like, how did she just seeing her in that situation? I was like, how did she make it out? How did she survive that long? You know what I'm saying? Without just see how she reacted in that situation, screaming her fucking head off. Like, how does I was like, it doesn't make sense. But that makes sense if she stayed in her apartment.
Same way. In other such cases, children are seen starved to death inside their homes
right.
without ever even
that makes
attempting
sense.
to leave their house out of fear or exhaustion.
Right.
The first scene shows her running out of a hobbies and crafts store. This store is visible in episode 1 as well. She wasn't able to find anything inside and died shortly after. Let's talk about the drugstore group for a second. There were originally a lot more people associated with this group who died before we joined them. Carly's co-workers, the unnamed person who Larry uses as reference while arguing to dispose of Duck. If we ask Doug if he tried to break into the gun store across the street, he'll say this.
I did, but it was too risky. And then a bunch of guys showed up and they tried.
And what happened?
I think they're most of who you see wandering around out there.
The thing that makes this group cool is that, unlike the others, we may be able to track them down. The survivors, at least. At the very end of the episode, Lee looks down at his family photograph before more heavy gunfire is heard down the street. Our vision is obscured once again, but to me this sounds like multiple rifles or shotguns which could link it to the gun store downtown, but this evidence alone makes it a long shot. The next theory is even more interesting. The only other Macon group with guns besides our own are the Bandits, and we know that they operate around the city and the outskirts near the Motor Inn and St. John's Dairy Farm. The reason for this, according to Danny St. John, is because the residents of Macon were ordered to gather near the Save Lot store on this highway. So Lee didn't know it yet, but this group off in the distance could have been survivors who later turned to banditry. The wiki does state that it's probably the case that a few other survivors that sought safety or supplies in the store joined the former staff to form what later became the Save Lot Bandits. It's safe to say that the group that Doug references supplied them with their guns from this exact gun store, as some are seen with only bows and arrows in episode 2, but are later equipped in episode 3, likely because of diminishing numbers. With the death of the bandits in the raid, the question is now, are there any survivors left? What do you think? I believe there is, just because we have to account for hidden communities and things like this. Vernon's cancer survivor group from Savannah hangs out in an infirmary basement connected to a sewer.
It could have been, that's what I'm saying, it could have been something just like that. We never really we didn't explore the sewer system, by the drugstore the whole time. We didn't really go in the sewers until we had to, until there was no other option. So there definitely could have been a secret group, somewhere else, or in the store somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm wondering where the girl in her apartment, you know what I'm saying? Were there other people just hiding in Actually, yeah, there were. Because there was that girl that ran in the street, and then you had the girl in episode 1 when you had to shoot her. Well, you can choose to shoot her, or you can give her you can give her the gun, or she takes it from you. Let me back up. So I could see that too. People hiding in their apartments, until they need to come out, or people that are bold enough to just go out, get supplies and come back when go make runs when they need to and come back in. So yeah, definitely, there's definitely, definitely other survivors. And I don't think Well, granted, the bandits they could have diminished, bro. But I'm saying like people, the remaining numbers probably started a new group there or something like that. There's definitely survivors left. That wasn't Savannah. Yeah, no, it's Savannah. Yeah, that was yeah. There's probably survivors left. No, wherever they're at in Atlanta or in Macon, I think they're in Macon, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there's definitely survivors. In my opinion, there could be survivors out there.
System. They had sick and elderly people to take care of. They were supposedly hiding from Crawford until their eventual collapse. Yet they still lived relatively comfortably for months until they
And you
stole.
got to think with them too. Vernon, they low key out hid their ops, bro. They hid for so long, their ops fell. So, yeah, definitely.
His boat and wound up with Shell's group down the line, with only Vernon losing his life off camera. The point is, more functional hidden groups still existed,
Right.
and may still exist
Exactly.
in Macon to this day.
I think so too.
St. John's Dairy Farm, for example, wasn't a particularly well-hidden place, yet they only fell because Lee had something to say about their life choices. With the bandits dead and almost definitely more secluded communities still out there, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Macon survivors still exist. We simply never saw them.
Yeah.
So what's your family's plan?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think in the forest too. Like we saw one of the bandit hideouts like deep in the forest, bro. There could have been other survivors and stuff in in the forest as well. That's where we found Ben, and then his friend and his teacher. We found them like in the forest. You know what I'm saying? We were trying to hunt, and we found them in the forest. So there also could have been like other deep forest survivor groups too.
Get back on down to Lauderdale and let this mess get sorted out. Government will start handing out shots, and the National Guard will do its thing.
The biggest mystery
Yo,
of
his
them all,
Florida
in
ass
my
has so much
opinion,
faith
is
in
how
the
the
government.
military failed so comprehensively, to the point where there's so few...
And I wanted to talk about this too, because they go over this in Fear the Walking Dead, and I still have a hard time like with the concept of like the sheer numbers of walkers overpowered the military. I just have a problem with that. But even in here, bro, like, I don't get how they failed either. I don't. I mean, I get the walkers; it's spread fast. I get that, bro. But you're harmed, bro. You guys have missiles. You guys have granted, you're not gonna blow up the whole fucking world, the United States of America. I get that. But you have guns. You know what I'm saying? You have heavy artillery, bro. I don't understand. I don't understand how you don't round up the. I don't understand how you don't round up the survivors and shit. Make a fight against this thing. Because all you really got to do, in an apocalypse like this, bro, well, no, because when you die, you turn into a walker too, bro. And that's, I don't know. All you gotta really do, bro, is I was gonna say that you just gotta kill the Walking Dead, bro, but you can't, because then even when you die of old age, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna come back as a walker, and there's still gonna be plenty of humans. I don't know. To me, the Walking Dead zombies, bro, compared to other zombies in different shit, like different series, are not anything hard to kill. So no, I don't understand how the military failed in both the game and in Fear the Walking Dead. You can say numbers, like the sheer numbers, all you want, bro. I'm telling you, the military should be able to shoot the shit down.
Actions or information regarding national security. The FRS, or Federal Rescue Services, as they're called here, are based on the real-life counterpart, Federal Emergency Management Agency, used also in the TV show. By the way, I won't be talking about the comics, even if they are technically the same. I'll use the Telltale world and the mystery at face value, using information given to us in-game only. The FRS are a government organisation responsible for overseeing and ensuring public safety in the events of terrifying natural and man-made disasters. They are responsible for responding to said disasters and assisting in the rescue of US civilians. In the entirety of Telltale's The Walking Dead, not one FRS soldier can be found alive. They have all since died, leaving us with the most common walker.
That's true. And then another point is, I mean, granted, we never have the option to like loot their body, but I don't think we ever found like a gun or a pistol on an FRS. For as many times as we've seen them throughout the like Walking Dead story and series, bro, we never found. It's crazy. We've never found like a pistol or like a weapon on them at all. I'm just like thinking about it now that I'm like thinking about it. We never never. And they're government agents. They should be armed.
Close enough attention to the 3 letters on their back. The earliest one chronologically is seen as Vince on day 2 on board the prison bus.
Which makes sense.
An evacuation notice on the 400 days board reads as follows.
And that too, bro, you gotta, if the granted, you don't know what was going, actually no, because you can kind of see the bus. You can see people, when you're playing as Glenn, I'm trying to think, bro, because I'm going back to the FRS soldier not having like a gun to defend himself, not anything. You one time, the only time you had a gun shot was when you were shooting the shotgun, bro. I don't know. It's just weird that I'm thinking about it, because then you didn't hear the FRS like government agent fighting back. You didn't hear gunshots outside of the bus. You didn't see it. You didn't see him until he was a walker. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm digging deep in that hole, bro. It's just weird to me now that I'm thinking about it. That like all the FRS soldiers you find, and then even like you see them as walkers, right? Immediately, and you don't hear gunshots, them defending themselves. You don't find any like evidence of weapons, and they're supposed to be government agents.
Only read this fully if you choose not to complete Bonnie's campaign last, like most people. Do hers first. In the event that you choose to ignore this evacuation notice, you will be doing so at your own risk. To yourself and those family members who remain with you, FRS will not be responsible for rescuing people who choose to avoid this notice. Before I go more in depth about the military, the next time you play, keep an eye on how many FRS walkers you come across. I lost count halfway
Crazy.
through season 2, but they're absolutely everywhere. They're in Crawford, they're in Michonne. There's even some in the middle of nowhere by the lake in season 2 where Roman died. And
Crazy. So then it's like they have numbers too. You know what I'm saying? Because they were everywhere. They were everywhere around Atlanta, at least from what we can tell. So you got to think, if they're everywhere, they got to have numbers to be everywhere. So I don't get how the FRS and military failed, bro. You guys got damn near so many numbers. You're walking with the walkers, bro. Interesting. I don't know. I don't get that either.
Lee or Kenny could have saved the lives of their entire group if they paid closer attention to the FRS distress signal at the end of the first episode, which is the only instance where you can hear a living soldier talk about the infection rates of Georgia's numerous cities. It's hard to hear with Duck talking over everything like an annoying bastard,
Yo.
but we can hear part of the isolated recording.
Meanwhile, inland, Atlanta has been downgraded temporarily to an 8, with attacks and rioting being reported in all precincts. Citizens are currently advised to stay in their homes or move towards the cities of Charlotte, Atlanta, and Orlando. If citizens choose to stay in their homes, they are urged to be near their radios and await further instructions. Moving to the cities of Charlotte, Atlanta, or Orlando may become necessary in order to ensure the safety of all citizens.
It sounds to me that Columbus could have been the correct place to go if they...
What did he say right here? The rest of the broadcast talks about the infection level of specific cities of Georgia, although I couldn't isolate this part of the audio. Oh, okay. Damn, that's kind of cool how much detail they went into it, too.
It sounds to me that Columbus could have been the correct place to go if they wanted...
So, but the broadcast is telling them to go to Atlanta. That makes no sense. Why are you telling everyone to go? Why are you telling everyone on the radio, you know what I'm saying, the whole world basically, the whole America to go to Atlanta when there's a stage 9 in there, bro? When Columbia is the least, that's what I'm saying, when Columbia seems
wanted to travel into a
infected.
city. If Kenny was made aware that Savannah was a stage 9 catastrophe, that could have convinced him to change his mind, as stubborn as he is. There's an FRS van at the end of episode 3 which would have been used to transport civilians to safe zones or deliver supplies. There's a satellite dish on the roof, meaning those messages from before were recorded from inside vehicles such as this, or that's what I'm guessing. There are signs on the road proving that this was a quarantine zone. Lee points out that people have raided the van a long time ago. All that's left are traffic cones and a roll of tape. Once again, no one survived. The 2 soldiers held out in a small building nearby, wrote survivors inside on the roof, but no backup came. We were too late. Did you know that the military saved us back at the drugstore?
I forgot, but yeah, they did come and clear out.
Is that the military?
I don't know.
But another interesting point about the military, though, too, and we saw their numbers. We saw they have numbers, bro. They're everywhere throughout the story, right? We never saw like a stronghold, or like a checkpoint, or hey, this is like a military. This is where we're setting up camp. We never even saw that. There was no like, okay, I'm gonna go. If you played like State of Decay, they had like a whole, like they did a whole version where you could play as the military, bro. It was insane. Like you had a whole outpost like in the zombie invasion. We never saw that in Walking Dead. Granted, we see the FRS soldiers, right? We see them, but we don't see like, hey, we never run into like the military squad and say, hey, this is like our stronghold. This is FRS. We never run into that, which I think is kind of strange for like a zombie apocalypse, because you at least see that until, you know what I'm saying? You at least see that until it falls, you know what I'm saying? And we never saw that Walking Dead. I never once saw like a military holdout. You know, they were all dead. Interesting. And maybe that's just for the plot, of course. The Walking Dead, and they want to set themselves aside, but we've seen it in other zombie games. It's just interesting. I never saw it in Walking Dead.
Thank God for whatever it is. We almost died because of this.
And then they don't stop. You got to think, well, they don't stop. You got to think from the outsider, right? You see shit is boarded up. So as the military, if you're trying to save civilian life, right, and from the radio broadcast they are, you think you would like knock on the door and try to get in and try to save those people. But the military here, which I guess, okay, maybe they're more concerned with clearing out the cities. You could say that too, but would they not be more concerned with clearing out the city and like saving civilians? It goes hand in hand, you know what I'm saying? Because right now you're just walking through, as a military, you're just walking through clearing out the city, but you're also missing potential survivor life. So I don't know. That's something I thought of too. Is they never, like, the military never sought you out. They never came to you really. You never ran into like the military squad. I don't know. And then it's like, but you're like, you're damn near right next to them. They're outside. I don't know. Always, it was a funny, something I thought about.
Bitch and a Richie trigger finger. That was
Yo.
stupid. That was.
Just before walkers break through the doors, a helicopter flies above and rains down bullets on the walkers below. Then, the helicopter flies away and the sound distracts them. Contrary to what most people believe, it didn't crash into the roof immediately, because there's a split second where a view of the roof is visible in episode 1 after triggering the alarm.
Yeah, plus if he would have came through the roof, you would have felt that shit too. You know what I'm saying? When you guys are evacuating. Which means, again, they went down at a later date. But again, how did that happen though? Like, how did the helicopter go down and crash? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Here, the roof is fine. They crash landed after we had already left.
Right.
We return later to find that Lee isn't too impressed by the military's efforts and the dead pilot inside the drugstore. We impale him.
So how, if he was alone, how did he die? Because that makes me like, how did he die? If he was in the sky, bro, like, unless someone shot him down, unless he crashed, how did he crash though? Like, he's in the air. The walkers shouldn't be able to get him. You know what I'm saying? And he should be able to. He's the military. He should be able to shoot shit. Unless he got too low to ground and the walkers like grabbed his shit. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get how he died, bro. Unless he was like stupid. I don't get
on
it.
some debris, but are unable to kill him. Something of note is that this guy, who was the only person who successfully helped us as far as I know, wasn't actually FRS, but United States Air Force. It's quite weird going back to episode 1 after finishing the series. At this stage, everyone was quite dismissive of the outbreak, Sean convincing his dad to reinforce.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, just put up some fences. Cat Joe was talking about, yeah, we need life to return to normal. You had Kenny talking about military's gonna sort this out. Yeah, bro, I bet they are. Yeah, it is weird, like now going back to it, like thinking like, bro, like they thought shit was gonna be sweet. Like, nah, shit's about to get worse, Brody, way worse.
The fence in case it's dangerous. Chet walking home to his mum's house acting like it's just a normal day.
The dumbest, that, like, we went over that in the first video, bro. That was the dumbest. Like, why? How? Dude, you can't even, no flashlight, nothing. Like, dude, Chet.
Kenny's family adamant that things will go back to normal in no time.
We need to hope that we can go back to our
that's what I'm talking about.
Lee. Back to normal. It can't stay like this.
It's good writing and a realistic interpretation of how people would act in real life. Kenny especially had very high hopes of the military in the beginning, which is in contrast to his usual pessimistic attitude to anyone that isn't himself we are familiar with. Only halfway through episode 1, I think, at the drugstore does everyone fully understand the calamity of the situation. How the military ultimately failed comes down to poor preparation and knowledge of the virus. The spread of the virus was already too violent and there was no containing it. They likely had no idea that people turn even if they aren't bitten, and in a profession where many people were dying around them, in very close proximity, it caused their swift downfall and the immediate shift to anarchy in the U.S.
Okay, that makes sense. That I can go for that. They didn't have the knowledge of the virus. That makes sense, but again, that doesn't account for the guy in the helicopter. I don't know how the fuck he died. Cause you gotta think, bro, like, they're gonna give, if something like this happened, bro, they're gonna give, like, live intel to all the forces out there in the field, like, saying, hey, these are live updates, this is what we know, like, they're gonna start doing shit immediately. So yeah, you could say that it spread too fast, you could say, but I just feel like the live updates, considering they have, like, this game was made, what, 2012, 2013, I'm pretty sure they had, like, communication like that to where you could, like, give live updates, you know what I'm saying, in calamities, in case shit like that happened. You could, but in this situation, I could see that. I could see what he just said. He said that it was spreading too fast, people around in the military were dying each other. That makes sense, but I just feel like they would have eventually, like, maybe not now, like, maybe not right away, they would have eventually had some kind of knowledge to at least to form, like, some kind of defense plot, you know what I'm saying? But we never saw it. I don't know, it just was straight annihilation. So I guess I'll go for the sake of, like, putting it to bed, and like, just, I'll go with what Panadares is saying, is that it was spreading too fast and they couldn't contain it. Because I could see that happening in The Walking Dead. I could.
US, too many people were dying every single day just from natural
Right.
causes. Any soldiers who lived past the initial stages of the outbreak would have abandoned their post to run away with their
Right.
families. And with no civilian infrastructure, the production of weapons, ammunition, and food would have ceased. If there's any military left, their efforts would have been used on prioritizing the well-being of the rich and powerful. Military bases in the middle of nowhere, using islands as safe zones on a small scale.
Yeah.
As for the general public, they clearly gave that up very
Yo. I'm not even gonna say it, yo. I'm not even gonna say it, man.
quickly.
I was gonna say something. You guys know what I was
You'd
probably gonna
figure
say.
a
I'm not gonna
movie
mention
star
it, bro.
Or something would show up somewhere.
They had like millions of dollars. They're probably living in a bunker with butlers and
If you
water
did, you
beds
should
out
check
the
the media
ass.
out right now if you didn't know what I was gonna say, because he brought up islands. That's why.
Let's go.
Although not a missing character, the Lily timeline is one of the most unknown things in the Walking Dead universe. She barely mentions anything about her past in Season 4, other than a few remarks about Larry being strict when she was a kid, how she almost died, and that she kept wandering around until she found the Delta, implying she was by herself for a very long time. It's about as open.
Lily, though, I could see that. I could see Lily like survive for, yes, I have no problem believing that Lily survived on her own. For all that, for however many years it's been. I have no problem, because she was already military. She was already military. The only really like weakness she had was her dad, because her dad would slow her down because he had that heart condition and stuff like that. So yeah, without that though, without like having someone weak to pull her down, if she only had to truly focus on herself, um, yeah, I can see Lily surviving. Also, Panadares, another mystery too. If you watch this, what do they ever talk about Lily's mom and what happened to her? Because to my knowledge, I don't recall that. I don't recall them, and maybe there's like some sequence you got to do, some secret scene. But I do not recall them ever talking about Lily's mom or what happened to her, if I'm not mistaken. So if you could cover that, that'd be nice. All right, bro. Back to it.
A hypothetical as possible, which is my favourite type of mystery because there's no wrong answer and there's lots of different opinions which I'd love to hear in the comments. As we all know, there's two scenarios this time around, like the Kenny separations in episode 5, only one of them really put Lily in an extremely dangerous situation, while in the other she had a vehicle and the sunlight to aid her.
The
We will be
RV makes
talking
sense,
about
right?
both regardless though. Starting with easy mode, Lily steals the RV and heads back in the direction of Macon. My first thought was always, how much petrol did the RV have left? Because Kenny drove for at least a day before the train blocked us. It was still light during the bandit attack. When Carly died, it was nighttime. And when we made it to the train, it was daytime again. I don't know how long exactly, but I'd say they drove from around 7 PM the previous day until 6 AM the next morning, give or take.
Right, but we also had gas too, because didn't we? That was the whole thing with the dairy farmers. Didn't we trade fuel for gas because they needed fuel for their fucking for their, if I'm not mistaken, they needed fuel for their farm. So in exchange, they gave us food for fuel, if I'm not mistaken. So I have no problem going off that. I have no problem believing that we had enough gas to stay on the road for like a day or 2 days. You know what I'm saying? And Lily had more, and then some, because we never saw. You know what I'm saying? We had the fuel, but did we give? Did we give them? If I'm not mistaken, did we give the brothers all the fuel? You know what I'm saying? Did we put in the trunk and they didn't show it? I have no problem believing that that we had enough fuel in the tank. Just giving off the bargain with the brothers, the dairy farm
Not
brothers.
particularly long, considering Kenny made sure the RV could have taken them all the way to the coast if needed.
Yeah,
the RV
right.
had more than enough petrol for Lily to drive back to Macon and beyond if she wanted to. It also wouldn't have been difficult for Lily to take back the motor in temporarily. She needed to kill the infected that remained, like what Lee, Glenn and Carly did back in episode 1 when they were much less experienced. Then stock up on the supplies and fuel that was left behind in the raid. We know that the motor inn had a surplus of petrol since we traded some of it for food in episode 2.
Right, that's what I said,
so without any mouths to feed and all of the leftover supplies to herself, this definitely made things a whole lot easier for her. I'd even go as far and say that if we are purely talking about survival, Lee and Clementine should have joined Lily instead of going to Savannah with Kenny.
It is though. It is. He's right. Panadares is right, because you got to think. Then they stay on the road. Shit. Worst case scenario. Lee and Clementine become Delta and they survive all that time. Lee doesn't die because they don't go to a big ass city. You know what I'm saying? Clementine doesn't run off with some stranger. We don't get caught up in the mix of all these walkers. We don't get caught lacking, by the walker, by the dumpster. I'd agree with that. I'd agree that honestly, with Kenny, with Duck being bidding, and then with Kenny's mental declining too. On top of that, I'd say this is kind of darker, but I'd say yeah, it made more sense in terms of survival. If you want a straight survival, it would have made more sense for Lee and Clementine to go with Lily. Maybe Lee would still be alive. But again, that just like how, well, it can be. Actually, no, because you got to fight Kenny and stuff. But just like how it was all like it was a rocky road with Kenny. You know what I'm saying? But it would be the same way with Lily because she wasn't. She was too militant, controlling, and just hateful and angry, and that wouldn't have worked either. So I don't know. It would have been interesting. Yes, it would. It sounds good on the surface, but what would have ended up happening? You know what I'm saying? Would I have just ended up shooting Lily? We fighting to the death? Yeah, just thinking about it. But yeah, I agree with Panda here that if you're talking about truly survival, then Lee and Clementine should have went with Lily.
As
in
much
the
as
RV.
I like Kenny, the whole Savannah thing was objectively the dumbest decision he
Yeah.
ever made. We also have the
Like, look, you're going across a sign in the middle of the street, dude. If you fall, it's over. Like, I mean, he's already been at that point. I get it, but it's like, dude, you're like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, dude, it's a zombie apocalypse, and you're risking your life even more. Yeah, I'd say City was dumb.
With Shell and Becca, they also abandoned their group in an RV to fend for themselves. The only difference is they had no place to go, no supplies, and people hunting them. In the end, however, they still made the correct decision. In summary, I think the RV scenario was the best thing that could have happened to her, the exact opposite of what comes next. If we decide to leave Lily behind, the whole dynamic changes. She believed that she would have died if left alone out here. Her panic immediately sets in if we look out the window afterwards.
I'll die out here.
I don't care.
The camera cuts away before we see which direction she
You're
went,
good. You make
but it's clear to me that she was about to run into the woods.
Right, it's all good. You make it far. You make it the farthest. You're all good, Lily. You make it farther than Kenny. You make it farther than Lee. You're all good. I'm not trying to hear
no
shit.
idea how she survived this.
Survive
in the
on that
dark,
damn
but she
street.
got lucky.
I don't feel bad for you.
Remember how quickly walkers spawned on Russell in 400 days? This was the exact same spot where we left Lily. We know that because of Carly or Doug's dead body on the side of the street. I don't know what it is about the countryside, but walker activity in woodland areas are abnormal.
I was gonna say they're abnormally high in forest and wooded areas, and typically in other zombie like movies and schemes you don't see that. It's higher obviously in the cities and the sub. You know what I'm saying? It's the up suburbs, but in the forest, bro, it's like they come out of nowhere. Even as Clementine, bro, like even when you're down the stream, bro, it's like they just come out of nowhere, and it's like where are these zombies coming from? What are they doing just chilling in the forest? And on top of that. Now, obviously, because you're more northern in the later seasons, so I have no problem with them. But in the South, especially in like Atlanta, give or take, it gets hot. Atlanta, it gets hot in the South during certain months. It gets really hot. With that said, how is the heat not decomposing these zombies so they're practically like bones? Look at them; they still have flesh. They still have flesh on them. I get their art deteriorated, but I'm saying like these zombies should be damn near bone because the heat should be like. It should be cooking them because how hot it gets, but also like it should be deteriorating the flesh sooner. And I say this that these walkers should be easier to kill. They shouldn't have muscle. They shouldn't have flesh. They should be damn near bone. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be able to just walk as fast as they do. They should fall apart. You know what I'm saying when they run. If you're really thinking about in the South how hot it gets, I'm pretty sure Atlanta gets that hot. I know it gets cold sometimes, but I know Atlanta can get pretty hot. So to me, that also never made sense. How it's like, it's fucking, you're just in the South, bro, and like the walkers are not decomposing. They're just walking around like normal. But then you go to the North and the winter freezes them, bro. I don't know. I just want to call that out for like the plot, in my opinion.
A fact that's consistent across The Walking Dead. So what happened next can be boiled down to Lily wandering through the woods until she eventually found a town or a place where she could settle down for a while and find food. The closest comparison for this scenario is Krista and Clementine in season 1.5. Another untold gap of time lasting 16 months, and the topic of many other mysteries I've discussed in my season 2 video a while back. They also travelled through the woods for the majority of their journey, and if Clementine and a pregnant woman could survive this long, I don't see why Lily couldn't.
That's true. If we're going off that logic, yeah, because it's the same exact situation. They're just traveling through forest. You know what I'm saying? They had nowhere to go, no supplies down there. They're like hunting, killing dinner by the day. So, yeah, I agree. I have no problem believing that Lily, because like I said, I have no problem believing that.
Against her. She also could have pulled a Russell and walked back to the motor inn on foot, but that would have taken a few days at least. She took it one step at a time, travelling from town to town trying to survive before she found other survivors such as Abel and found a place to call home in the Delta. She didn't have a head start this time, but she lived and wound up in the same spot anyway. The St. John family are the primary antagonists of episode
Now they're
2,
dead.
Starved for Help. At the end, their fate is determined by a series of choices after we confront them about cannibalism. We can kill either one of them, both or neither, leading to another missing character topic that I missed in my first video. Just to get this,
I saw what you did there, Panda Dares. That was nice editing, bro. Gonna go back and review it really quick.
episode 2, Starved for Help.
Because he said
At
both
the
and
end,
neither,
their
but he
fate
did
is
it as like the
determined
screen was twitching. I
by a
saw
series
that.
of
That was nice
choices
editing.
after we confront them about cannibalism.
Right here.
We can kill either one of them, both or neither,
Yeah,
leading to
that was
another
nice
missing
editing right
character
there.
topic
Appreciate
that
it.
I missed in my first video. Just to get this out of the way, I am 100% sure, and everyone would agree, that Danny dies no matter what. Even the wiki states that his death is absolute in every possible outcome. Spare Danny, dead. Regardless of what Lily does, it is unlikely that Danny
Spare Danny. He's still... Spare Danny, he's still dead. That's fucked up. You try to make the right decision, he's still gone.
survived due to his injury and the walkers
But his
infecting the
foot,
farm.
yeah, his foot
There's
got
no
caught in
other
the trap.
possible outcome for him unless he was miraculously able to cut off his leg in time and crawl to safety. But even then, he had no means to attempt this. He stepped into one of his modified bear traps that's impossible to escape due to the removal of the release mechanism. It's the same deal with David at the beginning of the episode, even with an axe.
Plus, even if he did, even with an axe, he couldn't get that damn thing open. Plus, even if he did cut himself loose, he's gonna bleed out now. Unless he can patch himself up that damn quick, but I don't think he can. Crawling on one, well, he could probably stand, but I'm saying you gotta crawl. You probably stand up crawling because walkers are coming in at you. You know what I'm saying? Can you really patch yourself up while you're being pursued by a bunch of walkers, bro, on one leg? I don't know. I don't know about that, Danny.
On hand, no matter how hard we try, we cannot free him without amputation. Danny had no way to survive this. The walkers on the left-hand side of this final shot here were getting to him whether he liked it or not. Andrew, or Andy for short, is the main topic here, and from what I've seen, the case for his survival is divided amongst the community. Most people think he died anyway. I'd like to think that he lived just because, you know, I don't trust anything that happens off camera. If a character is alive when we last saw them, without something obvious suggesting otherwise, like stepping in an unescapable bear trap, or the alleyway situation.
Right.
Oh wait, you can understand why I always like to give them the benefit of the doubt. Spare Andy, unknown. If Andy is spared, he breaks in despair while walkers overrun the farm and advance on him. It is unknown what happened to him, but it is very possible that he was devoured by the walkers, seeing as he was broken and defeated, although he may have escaped somehow. I'm going to play the final.
He could have escaped, and I could, because you got to think they were, well, they're farmers, right? So they kind of somewhat know how to live off the land. I don't know. I could see him surviving, but I don't see it. The way like his family was gone, the way he was like just standing there as the walkers overrode the farm, and then it's like you never saw him again. He never really came after you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Scene just so we can understand the situation more and what he could have done to defend himself.
And then he's not even like trying to run away. He's just watching. Right? Yeah. Yo, his mom's coming out to get him. Yo, she turned into a walker. I forgot about that. Yo, that's funny. His old mom's coming to get him. Another mystery. Panda Dares. Did they ever talk about the St. John's dad? I feel like they did. I feel like the mom talked about him a few, but like, did they ever talk about like what happened to him? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the mom. I feel like there is certain dialogue you can do, but I just can't remember what she says, and I don't know if it's like a complete answer, if it's more like just like a one-off, like just her mentioning him. But yeah, bro, if you can investigate that for me, I appreciate it.
Brenda was the closest walker and is quickly approaching him. We don't hear any sudden movements or running suggesting he wanted to live. It's as if he was accepting his death. On the other hand, we don't hear screaming or eating noises, so we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
If the scene had just lasted one more second, we would have known for sure, but we don't. There's a few small things here and there. If you spare Danny, you get the message saying, Clementine will remember you spared his life. If you spare Andy, the message instead reads, you spared Andy's life. What's interesting is how the game chooses to frame the two. When you spare Danny, the game doesn't even acknowledge him. His name is absent, it's unimportant. He dies regardless, and the game makes that clear. So really, this decision exists purely as a moral lesson for Clementine. It's about how it relates to her while having nothing to do with Danny himself.
but then also it comes back to haunt you because the guy in the end, when he takes Clementine, he like mentions your fault. And he says, "Oh, you killed that guy in front of her." But then on the double side, if you don't kill Danny, he comes back and says they made. He says some shit. He's like they made her eat meat and you let them live or some shit like that. It's like a double standard thing, but like it does whatever choice you make, it still comes back to bite you in the ass in the end when the guy's like confronting you.
This is the opposite of you spared Andy's life. With no correlation to Clementine, thus no moral framing, it's a direct acknowledgement of Andy's survival. The distinction matters because by naming Andy, the game assigns weight to his life as an outcome determined by us. It's not symbolic, so we can assume that it would be unlikely for him to die a few seconds later without consequence. I think that would be cheap. He was always supposed to live if we chose it, but I could be digging too deep on this one. Secondly, I've said this about multiple deaths in the past. If they wanted to simply show him die or get bit or whatever, they could have easily done that, but they decided not to. Andy's fate is deliberately left as mysterious as possible for us to speculate and theorise about how he lived. A trope that often plays out in favour of the character's survival. Now for the counter-argument. A common theory I've seen and agree with is that Andy would have had every intention of coming after us if he made it out of there alive. We just killed his whole family, and he was adamant that we were in the wrong the entire time.
Not only that, bro, but we killed your whole family, fucked up your whole living situation because the walkers are through. They're on your farm, bro. Like your shit, like it's done. Like you can't survive there anymore because they're there. So like that's what I said earlier. We never saw him again. He never came for us. You never. I don't know. That's why it makes me think he's gone too. He had every reason. Yeah, he had every reason to come at us, bro. Every reason he didn't. And we weren't. You got to think. We were there. I don't know what the time passes was, but we were still there. In episode 3, because this was episode 2. So in episode 3, we were still in, Macon, or wherever we were at in Atlanta. We were still there. He didn't come at us at that time. He knew where we were at. You got to think. He knew where our base was at. Granted, he was alone, but he knew where we were at, and he didn't approach us. We never heard of him again. That's what makes me think he's gone, because he knew where we were at and never came to us for the short time period we were there. Until episode 3.
That he was just an innocent man looking for gas.
Shut the fuck up. You think I'm playing here, boy?
Yo.
All we wanted was gas. We came to you peacefully.
I'd argue
that
he
bro.
was showing signs of remorse in the end. I believe that he was smart enough to understand the consequences of his actions, and Lily caught a glimpse of this too. The last piece of evidence is that we beat the shit out of him, so he wasn't in any condition to stand on his feet and make it far. If we don't punch him enough, there's an alternate outcome where the fight continues and we push him into the electric fence instead. This almost kills him, making it even harder to theoretically justify his escape.
Yeah, that's damn near that either that is or that paralyzes him, bro. But he's not moving. If you put him in, he's not moving.
Off here, his fate is still unknown with the minimal evidence on both sides, but leaning slightly towards his ensuing death after the camera cut to the sky. As we know with Telltale, evidence wasn't enough to stop Kenny or Clementine from surviving the impossible, even if they were main characters. My input is 55-45 in favour of his survival, but it's up in the air. Tell me what you think about Andy's escape in the comments.
I could see it, but I mean it doesn't. Especially if you push him on that fence. No, hell no, I don't see him escaping. But again, if he's just standing at the end of despair, like looking at you, I could see him running. But then again, that leads to the theory is that like he knew where our base was at. Again, we were there until the part of episode 3. He knew where our base was at. He didn't act. He didn't come back for us. You know what I'm saying? We never mention him again. We never see him again. I don't know. That's what makes me think is that like he's gone. Is that he never came back and he knew specifically where were we at too. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Oh, you did, honey. It's awful out there. But they would have chewed me up.
It was hard.
I don't know how you did it, but you did good. Okay?
Damn.
Now for the mystery that made me revisit season 1. I was supposed to include this in my first video, but decided to hold on to it. Good thing I did, because it's such a weird mystery that deserves a deeper analysis, and I wanted to end this video with a banger. Lee passes out in the street amongst the horde. He wakes up inside a nearby jewellery store. Clementine found a way to drag him inside and lock the gate to prevent walkers breaking in. Luckily, there's another exit in the back which she later uses to escape and bypass most of the herd, eventually allowing her to team up with Omid and Krista on the outskirts of Savannah. She doesn't give us much of an explanation other than it was hard. Lee is about as confused as we are, wondering how a 9-year-old girl was able to accomplish such a thing. There's nothing inside the store suggesting it was used to assist her. From what we can see, she did all of this with her bare hands. Message forums dating back to 2012 are the earliest mentions of this mystery. How did Clem drag Lee inside the jewelry store?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the theory said it right here. That's what I was gonna kind of wait to the end, but they already said it. God damn, I didn't mean to do that.
Is Krista and Clementine in season. Now for the mystery that made me that deserves a deeper analysis, and I wanted to end this video with a banger. Lee passes out in the street amongst the horde. He wakes up inside a nearby 2012.
That's what I was gonna say. Sorry for skipping around, but Lee was kind of rotting, and because he lost weight. Yeah, that's what I was gonna go with. Is that because he was like damn near zombie at that point, and they're not like bone, right? They still have flesh on them. So, but I was thinking that maybe he's lighter. Whatever the virus does or whatever the bite does, it made him lighter, and Clementine was able to maybe drag him in. That's something I was thinking of. She's sick as the daughter of Batman. Yo!
Mystery. How did Clem drag Lee inside the jewelry store? She's 9. With enough adrenaline and willpower, I'm sure she could have dragged Lee along by his feet or something. It definitely took her a while to drag him to safety, since by the time she got to the garage, his appearance had deteriorated so much.
Okay. A 9-year-old though? A 9-year-old girl dragging like a grown man. And I'm not trying to be sexist or anything. I'm just saying it's more difficult. Man, I don't know. Yeah, I could see it. And then that does explain how like when you wake up in the garage, you're damn near like zombie and you can't move anymore. So the time passage would. I just don't know. Can a 9-year-old girl? I'm pretty sure it's happened, but how long would it take, bro? I don't know.
Much. That's a good point, actually. Lee passes out lots of times during episode 5, and every time he was able to stand back up and continue without the infection worsening. This is the only mini time skip where his condition is noticeably worse, so we can assume that this was at least an hour later, giving Clementine a generous time frame to work with. By extension, and because Clementine herself said that it was hard, it credits the theory that, quote, she probably dragged him along inch by inch. She's not a toddler.
True.
To me this seems the most likely, yet some aren't convinced. It's bullshit. On every forum, for everything, there's always some guy trying to make excuses for Telltale. Adrenaline.
Yo, this guy's crashing out. Yo.
My ass. It does make you do amazing things, but this is still a little girl who hasn't even hit puberty. On a constant basis, she was unable to fight walkers off her despite them weighing less due to decay. I will say
that's the point I was gonna make too. Is walkers are damn near bone and flesh. So how come if she can drag Lee, how come she couldn't push the walkers off of her? And 2, one issue with the adrenaline theory to me is by the time you wake up, Clementine doesn't seem tired. She's not breathing. The creators didn't put anything. She's not breathing heavy. She's not like, she's not, I mean, it's hard to tell because she has a zombie muck on her, but she's not sweating. She's not saying, oh, I'm tired or I'm sweating. She doesn't say that. She says it's hard. She said it was hard that one time, but she didn't say, man, I'm tired or I'm really tired from dragging you, Lee. I need a minute. She doesn't rest. So that's something with, if you're going with the whole Lee thing, like with the whole she dragged him inch by inch, and even, I guess then it would come down to the time frame, right? Because then you could say, oh, well, Lee was passed out the entire time, so she was able to rest, and that's why she didn't look tired or seem tired. But then you don't think she would have maybe mentioned that, other than just saying it was hard? You don't think she would have been like, she would have said, oh, I dragged you in here, it was hard, but I was tired for a bit, I had to rest for like 20 minutes after you were passed out, now you're up and I'm healthy again. Like there's no signs. I guess you could go with the whole Lee was passed out for however long so she was able to recover, but then she doesn't really mention that, and then she still doesn't seem fatigued. She doesn't say she's sore. She doesn't say any of that, bro. I don't know with the whole, if you're going with the inch by inch thing, that's my question to you. What do you guys think in the comments?
Lee also lost a lot of weight during episode 5.
He did.
He's essentially a walker himself by the end of it. I know where this guy is coming from, but accounting for the amount of time that passed, weighing closer to 150 pounds by the end of the game, and that Clementine herself clarified that it was very difficult, is enough to convince me that the adrenaline theory works.
I don't know. See, I don't know, because I guess so. If we're going with that, then you could say that he was passed out that whole time and that she was resting. But if you're going with the adrenaline theory, bro, I don't know. And nothing against you, Panadares. I'm just kind of getting my own. I don't know, because then wouldn't she have seen more fatigue or more tired, and wouldn't she have mentioned it other than saying that it was very difficult? Like, she would have gave more detail, in my opinion. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You guys going with the adrenaline theory? That Clementine was able to do it inch by inch, or are you guys going with me? Is that doesn't make sense because then she would seem or appear or say she was more tired than just saying it was more difficult. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
You'd be surprised to hear that this jewellery store has a wiki article for us to take a look at. An exterior view seen in this image shows the gate from the outside. There's a Crawford tag on it, which is a nice detail.
Right.
Nothing of much importance, but we can visualise how she was able to slide Lee under the gate and lock it from the inside. Another theory is that the apple Lee gave her in episode 2 was actually infused with drugs. Why was it cut in half first of all? I think there's something weird going on here. I still wonder how Clem managed to drag a heavyweight like Lee inside the shutter after he faints to the ground. I couldn't think of how she managed such a feat, unless she was hiding some muscle underneath. Obviously this is a joke, but imagine if there was a secret ending where if you didn't give Clementine any food throughout the game, it made her too weak to carry Lee in episode 5. Besides just being nice, the energy bar and ration choices from episodes 1 and 2
Well, that too.
have no
Hold
real...
on, if we're but like, see that too. Hold on, see this. Okay, now I'm digging back to the adrenaline theory because hold on, this girl has been eating rations. This girl has been eating rations for 3+ months, however long it's been, a year. I don't know how long, because I know there was a 3-month time change between episode 1 and episode 2, if I'm not mistaken, or whenever you found Ben in the forest. There was that was 3 months alone. So however long it's been, bruh, and you're trying to tell me that this girl has enough adrenaline to drag Lee, bro? Like, is she not fatigued? Is she not tired? Is she not food deprived? How does she have energy to do that? You could say adrenaline, bro, but being someone who works out, bro, you can say adrenaline, but when you're like fatigued as fuck and you haven't eaten and your body doesn't have the right energy, you can say adrenaline, bro, but even then, you're tired, you're weak, you're fatigued. No, I'm going back with it. I think and Panda Dares, you brought this up with the food thing. You made me think she hasn't been eating healthy or eating right. You know what I'm saying? As a 9-year-old girl that we think of. So I don't think you could say the adrenaline, bro, but I think she's malnourished. I don't think she's strong enough even as a 9-year-old girl. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, like, nothing against Panda Dares, but let you guys in the comments about this, but I don't think the adrenaline theory works for me. I don't think she was nutritioned enough. I think she was malnourished. I don't think she was strong enough to drag Lee. I don't know. There's more for that, but yeah, she wasn't eating. Hell no.
Consequence. A theory I do like is that Lee and Clementine were actually eaten by walkers. The rest of the series was just Clementine dreaming in her final moments, finding a family and a new home, because her last sights were her dead parents and only living guardian Lee succumbed to the infection and collapsed to the ground. That concludes more Telltale's The Walking Dead Unsolved Mysteries. Moving forward on this channel, I would like to focus primarily on The Walking Dead, single hypothetical what-if scenarios, mysteries, lore speculations, and the occasional mystery list on, well, I guess I have to make a part 2 on every game now all over again. I should probably think about making Michonne. I said I was going to, but got caught.
Please do. Please make Michonne. We'll react to it. Please make Michonne. We played it. We'll react to it, Brody. Come on, Brody.
Up in the more mainline series stuff. Thanks for watching again. Please feel free to email me or join my Discord server if you have anything worth sharing on there.
Alright, bro, that's gonna do it. Again, I'm standing on what I said about the adrenaline theory. I don't agree with it. The girl's been malnourished, malnutrition throughout the whole series. She hasn't had like a... Dude, I don't think you guys sit down and eat a damn meal. At the farm, yeah, but that's all Canada. That's not a real meal, bro. She hasn't had like a real meal in how long? I'm sorry. I'm standing on it again. She couldn't have dragged Lee. I think she's too malnourished as a 9-year-old trying to drag a grown man into the thing. Even with him being light, bro. And then she's not even like showing signs of fatigue, showing signs of being tired. You know what I'm saying? Resting. She wasn't sitting. She was able to fight off the walker because, and with that, to back me up, right? She wasn't tired because she wasn't moving tired. You know what I'm saying? When you had to instruct her to fight the last walker at the end there. So she could escape the room, and then I don't know. You could say the time frame, but I don't know. Clementine, I feel like she would still, even if Lee was still passed out for all that time, given the fact that she was malnourished throughout the whole series, and then she had just exerted that much energy getting Lee into there, I think she would have still been showing signs of fatigue, of tiredness, and saying just more than, oh, it was difficult. So yeah, that's where I stand on that. Great video by Panda Dares. Shout out Panda Dares. Like I said, go follow him, like, comment, subscribe, his stuff. I hope he makes the Walking Dead Michonne. But yeah, and all the other mystery videos he was talking about, because we're going to be here for him. Because again, we played The Walking Dead. I played The Walking Dead through as a kid, even on my YouTube. You can go peep it. But yeah, so Let me know in the comments. Shout out Panda Dares for the great vid. For now, it's going to do it, man. Peace.